Welcome to the Here's My Story channel. I'm Dora Lee. One day, I was in the dining room of the group home where I live, having lunch. The director came up to me and said, "Dora Lee, I have a wonderful surprise for you tomorrow." I figured I was going to have another interview with potential foster parents, but I'd never seen him this excited before. The next day, I found out why. When I walked into his office in the morning, there was a gorgeous-looking couple waiting for me. The director stood up. All three of them were staring at me. I said, "Hi." They kept staring at me with huge smiles on their faces. Seeing my reaction, the director said, "Dora Lee, don't you recognize them?" and named a movie. Of course, I'd seen it a few years ago. This lady was the lead actress in it. She said, "Dora Lee is so innocent and beautiful. This is exactly what we are looking for. Let's please start the fostering process." Actually, this was a massive clue as to what life had in store for me. But since I was so happy that the interview went well, I didn't realize that at the time. By that point, I'd been fostered twice. The first time, my foster parents got divorced. The second time, my foster mom passed away in a car accident. I must be a really lucky person. I was getting fostered for the third time, and my new parents were a celebrity couple. They came to pick me up a couple of days later. They lived in a huge mansion. The walls of the house were covered with movie posters. To be honest, I hadn't seen most of them because they were too old for me. My new mom had set up a fantastic room for me. "Do you like it?" she asked. "I love it," I said. "Let's go shopping and get some clothes for you tomorrow. My friend who works in TV will be coming over in a couple of days. She's going to do an interview with the two of us," she said. I said, "I hope I won't say something wrong. This is going to be my first interview." And she replied, "Don't you worry. It's going to only be this one person. There used to be a time when all the reporters would camp at our door." The maid who cleaned my room was very young. Her name was Malia. We quickly became friends. I learned a lot about my new family from her. The last few movies my new mom was in did really badly at the box office. The producers lost money. That's why she wasn't getting as many movie offers anymore. In fact, she hadn't been in anything in the last 4 years, and her popularity was on the decline because of that. What's worse, my new dad was in the same boat. That's why they were having financial issues. Until recently, they had more staff working at the house, but they had to lay off most of them. The following day, my new mom and I went shopping. We went to all the designer stores. The salespeople were dancing around us. My new mom was introducing me to them saying, "Isn't my daughter so pretty? We want clothes that will make her even prettier." She bought some incredible clothes. I hadn't felt this happy in a long time. On the day of the interview, I was really excited. Cameras started rolling. The reporter was mostly talking to my foster mom. Then something strange happened. The reporter asked, "How come you chose Dora Lee of all the kids?" My foster mom looked at me and smiled. Then she started telling this totally made-up story. Actually, we weren't thinking about fostering. What happened was, Dora Lee wrote a letter to me. She was a huge fan. She had watched each of my movies at least 10 times. She wrote, "I really want to meet you. Please don't turn me down." My husband and I went to visit her in the group home where she was living. We both ended up falling in love with this pretty girl and decided to foster her. This story was obviously a complete lie. I was right next to her, and I knew that what she had said was not true. I did not like that she could lie so easily, but I didn't say anything. Thankfully, nothing weird happened in the days that followed. My foster parents were really good to me. My mom was taking me out all the time. We were having dinner at cool restaurants, we were going shopping, we were hanging out with other celebrities. She kept saying to anyone, "Look how innocent she is. Isn't my daughter the prettiest?" When I woke up each morning, all I could think about was how lucky I was. One evening, my mom came to my room. "I've been wanting to go on vacation for a long time. Your dad rented a yacht for us. We're going sailing for a week," she said. I was so excited. "Yay!" I said, and gave her a big hug. The yacht was ginormous. Swimming in the ocean felt incredible. Dolphins kept following us. I felt like I was in a dream. On the last day of vacation, after swimming all day, I was tired and went to my cabin early. Suddenly, there was a loud knock on the door. I heard my foster mom say, "Dora Lee, please open the door." I opened it right away. There were 2 masked men outside. When I saw that they were armed, I screamed, "What's happening?" One of the men yelled at me to walk out of the room. I saw that they had tied my dad to a chair. There was a guy holding a gun to his head. Then they tied my mom up as well. There was a small boat next to our yacht. The guy who seemed to be the leader said to my parents, "If you don't give us $10 million, you will never see your daughter again." The other masked guy was filming the whole thing. My foster mom began crying. "I'll give you whatever you want. Please don't hurt my daughter, she said. My foster dad screamed, You bastards! Let her go! I will come after you! But they didn't budge. The masked men dragged me onto the other boat. I was only beginning to figure out what was happening. I was being kidnapped for ransom. I started crying. They turned the engine on. The last thing I heard was my foster mom yelling, Don't be afraid, Doralee. We will save you no matter what. They put me in a cabin. It had a tiny window. There was no sign of land, so I guessed we were in the middle of the ocean. They brought me food from time to time. I'd almost lost the sense of time. I think maybe 4 days had passed. 2 masked men came to my cabin. Your foster mom really loves you. She didn't even negotiate with us. She's paying up today. If all goes well, you'll be free tomorrow, they said. The next morning, I woke up to the sounds of a helicopter. I peeked out of the tiny window. 2 small boats were fast approaching the boat I was in. There were helicopters in the sky. When the boats came close enough, I saw that it was the police. They'd come to save me. Would there be a standoff? I was really scared. With no problems whatsoever, the police climbed aboard my boat and helped me out of the cabin. My foster family had paid the ransom. My kidnappers escaped after giving up the coordinates of the boat I was in. Shortly after, we set out in the police boat. There was a huge crowd waiting for us on the shore. My foster parents were there in the front. I saw my foster mom crying. I broke down. I started running towards her with tears pouring down my face. When we hugged, there was a huge round of applause. There were so many news cameras around us. Reporters were taking pictures of us nonstop. The TV channels were reporting live from the scene. I found out later that my kidnapping became a top story in the national press. The kidnappers posted the video they took of me online. All the TV channels were playing it. It was all people talked about on social media. The police said, Don't pay the ransom. We will conduct an operation to save your daughter. Trust us. But my foster family didn't listen to them. They said, It's too dangerous. We will pay the money and get our daughter back. My parents and I were facing the TV cameras now. My foster mom said, Dear friends, thank you so much for your support. My daughter is safe thanks to all the prayers we received from you. Now, if you please allow us, we'd like to go home. I need to help my daughter to overcome the trauma she's been through. There was another explosion of applause. I was finally with my family. We held each other and wept. I was feeling incredibly well when I woke up the next morning. I took a shower and went downstairs. I was going to do something important, and that's why I was so excited. When I walked in, my foster dad was on the phone with someone. My foster mom was watching the news about my rescue on TV. In a melodic voice, I said, Good morning, Mommy. I called my foster mom Mommy for the first time because I had started seeing her as my real mom now. But her reaction was not what I had expected. She gave me a very cold look. The warm, loving woman from yesterday was gone. Meanwhile, my foster dad was done with his phone call. He looked very happy and said, That was the 8th production. They all want us to do at least 1 movie with them. It looks like we're going to spend the next 10 years shooting. My foster mom replied, You're a genius. You saved our careers. Something strange was going on. Someone I didn't recognize walked in. I'm saluting America's most loved celebrity couple, he said, and bowed down in front of them. There was a burst of laughter. When the man saw me there, he said, Oh, wow, there's our victim, and then proceeded to yell, If you don't give us $10 million, you will never see your daughter again. I couldn't believe it. I recognized his voice. That was you. You were the kidnapper, I said. They all laughed again. The man replied, Of course I was. I'm not as famous as your parents, but rest assured I am just as good an actor. I was shocked. Why did you do this? I was scared to death for days. Why didn't you tell me this was a stunt? I asked them. My foster mom looked at me. You're not an actor like us. That's why you had to believe it was all real. If you knew it was a setup, you'd have had to act and, of course, fail. It was incredible when you ran towards me and embraced me in front of those cameras. I doubt even I would be able to pull off something like that. I was furious. I hate you. This was the reason you fostered me, wasn't it? You hatched this plan to save your careers. You used me. You're the worst people I've met in my life. My foster mom shook her finger at me threateningly. We saved you from the orphanage. We gave you this luxurious life. You are so ungrateful. If you say one more word, I'll send you to an orphanage in the middle of nowhere. You will have to spend the rest of your life there. As I was going back to my room, Malia saw me crying. She asked me what was going on. I told her everything. I'd rather go back to the group home than to live with these people, I said. She was really sad for me. I'd feel exactly the same if I were you, she said, and gave me her phone. Everyone should find out about this horrible game they are playing. because it's not just you that they lied to. They tricked millions of people. She was right. I recorded a video with her phone explaining what really happened. Then I uploaded it to YouTube. Malia sneaked me out of the mansion and took me to her home. We told her family everything. Her dad drove me back to the group home in his car. The director was really surprised to see me. I showed him the video. He thought I was right to come back. The next day, my video went viral on YouTube. Soon, millions of people had watched it. People found out my foster parents had lied to them. There was outrage. Again, it was all people talked about on social media. I watched the cable news and saw so many TV crews in front of the mansion, but my foster parents were nowhere to be seen. Hours later, they finally came out and made a statement. They apologized to the public. They had hired people to kidnap me. That was illegal. The police arrested them and charged them with kidnapping a minor. They were publicly disgraced. I, on the other hand, went back to my normal life. There were journalists who wanted to interview me, but I turned them down. I only have to appear in court and tell the judge what happened. My conscience is clean. I'd rather live as an honest person in a group home than live a life of luxury with those crooks.
I'm Kristen. When my best friend Bonnie saw me at school, she yelled, "But you said you were going to dye your hair black. You lied to me. It's red." I didn't ask her why she was mad because I already had a guess. Bonnie was my best friend. The other day, I told her I was going to dye my hair black. She copied me to a T, so she went to the salon right after school and got her hair dyed black. Meanwhile, I had changed my mind at the salon and dyed it red. When Bonnie saw the color of my hair, she was mad, so she refused to talk to me all day. What happened next? When Bonnie came to school the next day, she had red hair. As if nothing happened, she said, "I dyed my hair red. How does it look?" She was a day late, but still managed to copy me. I was annoyed, but didn't say anything. Bonnie and I had been friends for 6 years. She wasn't like this in the beginning, but in the last couple of years, she started to copy me. I didn't say anything in order to protect our friendship, but she overdid it. She was copying pretty much everything I did. For example, she used to hate K-pop. She would tease me when I listened to it, but then she started listening to nothing but K-pop. She even said she would get a BTS tattoo on her arm when she turned 18. And she never used to wear pants. I always wear pants, so she would mock me and say, "You'll grow a beard one day." But as you can guess, now she only wears pants. I can give you so many other examples, but I'm sure you get what I mean. I have to admit, in the beginning, I thought it was cute that she was copying me. She was my best friend after all. But with time, she started to go overboard and shamelessly copy everything about me, from my favorite foods and hobbies to how I speak and my Instagram posts. I tried to confront her several times, but she always denied it. So finally, I decided to accept her as she is. Bonnie and I spend evenings texting each other. One evening, she stopped responding to my texts. I figured she'd call me when she was available, so I didn't make much of it. Then I was scrolling Instagram while brushing my teeth before bed. I went into total shock when I saw the photo on my feed. Bonnie and my crush, Lucas, had been to the movies. They took a selfie together and Lucas wrote, "A lit movie night." I looked at the photo again. I couldn't believe it. My best friend was on a date with my crush. The weird part was that Bonnie liked someone else, but she went out with Lucas only because I liked him and because she wanted to copy me. I was so frustrated that I began crying. My grandmother lives with us and our rooms are adjacent. She came to my room when she heard me crying. She sat down with me and asked, "Is it Bonnie again?" I had told her the things that Bonnie did. I nodded, yes, and she really upset me this time. When my grandmother said, "I think it's time to teach her a lesson," I was worried. I said, "Grandma, she's my best friend. She's not a bad person. Friends can copy each other, but unfortunately, Bonnie does it a little too much. But I still don't want to punish her." She replied, "I know she's a good girl, but I also know I could teach her a small lesson without hurting her, and I'm sure you're going to get a kick out of what I'm going to do." Then she left. I wasn't too happy with Grandma getting involved, but a small lesson couldn't hurt, right? Otherwise, she would escalate this copying thing and we might have to call it quits at some point. Grandma came back holding a small bottle with clear liquid inside, something that looked like water. Giving me the bottle, she said, "Make sure Bonnie drinks half of this, then drink the rest yourself." Curious, I asked what it would do. Grandma giggled and said, "If everything goes as planned, she will never copy you again. I won't tell you what will happen when you drink this. Think of it as a surprise." I invited Bonnie over the next day. We would usually hang out at one of our houses after school, so it didn't seem out of the ordinary. We were chilling in my room as usual. At some point, I went to the kitchen saying I would get us some snacks. I made us 2 sandwiches and poured 2 half glasses of juice. My heart was racing when I filled the rest of the glasses up with Grandma's mystery liquid. I was so curious to see what was going to happen. I put it all on a tray and went back to my room. Bonnie was complaining about one of our teachers. She took a big bite out of the sandwich, then she chugged the juice. I grabbed the other juice and drank it up too. Suddenly, there was a white flash of light inside the room. We were dazzled by the intensity of the light. When things went back to normal, I stared at Bonnie in amazement. She was also stunned. She held out her arms in front of her. Then she stood up and examined her pants. She said, "Kristen, what's going on? Why am I wearing your clothes?" Then she looked at my clothes. Her eyes widened when she realized what I was wearing. "And when did you put my clothes on? What's going on? How did we switch outfits?" I realized what Grandma had done. I reached for the mirror on the table and turned it towards Bonnie. She screamed when she looked in the mirror. She yelled, "How is this possible? Why does my face look like yours? Kristen, why does your face look like mine?" Grandma had cast a body-switching spell on us. The elixir I mixed into our juice gave my body and my face to Bonnie, and vice versa. Our bodies had been switched. This was really fun, just like my grandmother had said. Laughing, I said, "My dear friend, you should be happy. You know how you always copied me? Now you don't have to do that because we switched bodies. You are me, and I am you." Bonnie was still trying to figure it out. After closely looking at her face in the mirror, she turned to me, bewildered. She asked, "Kristen, how did you do this?" Smiling, I replied, "I didn't. My grandma did." "Your grandma? Mrs. Miller did this?" She was in shock. I began to explain to Bonnie our family's biggest secret. My great-great-great-grandmother was a witch. As the war against witches was being waged in Europe, she found a way to escape from Spain to America. She never practiced witchcraft again, but wrote down all the spells she knew about. This handwritten manuscript was handed down from generation to generation. Right now, my grandma has it. She hates witchcraft, but sometimes she uses spells to overcome minor issues we face. That's why she cast a body-switching spell on us. You don't need to copy me anymore because this spell turned you into Kristen. Bonnie began to cry. "I'm so sorry. Yes, I was copying you, but this is too much. I don't want to be exactly like you. I want to live with my own family in my own home, in my own room. But I can't go there in this body. They wouldn't believe me even if I told them. They'd think I lost my mind. I promise I will never copy you again. I see now how silly I've been. Please help me. I want my body back." I was sad to see her so upset. I asked, "What about Lucas? Are you going to date him or anyone else I like?" She answered, "Of course not. You're right. I went out with him because I was copying you, which was so wrong. I'll never do it again." She looked in the mirror again. "From now on, I'm going to be myself. It's so pathetic to copy someone else. Please ask your grandma to reverse the spell. I want my own face back." At that moment, my grandmother appeared out of nowhere in a cloud of mist. I was used to her doing that, but Bonnie screamed. Laughing, my grandma said, "I've been here the whole time, honey. I had to come and see if the body-switching spell worked, but you two couldn't see me because I was invisible." Then she turned to Bonnie. "Bonnie, I know you're a good person, but some of the things you did upset my granddaughter. I wanted to help her out with my spells. I hope you're not too angry with me, but as far as I can tell, you figured out what you were doing wasn't quite right." Bonnie replied, "I definitely did, Mrs. Miller. Please reverse the spell. I want to go back to my own body." Grandma took another small bottle out of her pocket, opened it, and said, "Just smell this elixir to reverse the body-switching spell." The smell was lovely. Bonnie and I both took a whiff. There was another flash of light in the room. When things went back to normal, Bonnie looked at me. She screamed, "Kristen, you're you!" She grabbed the mirror and looked at her reflection, then screamed, "Yay, I'm me again!" Honestly, I was very happy to return to my own face and body, too. Bonnie and I hugged each other. Bonnie turned to Grandma and said, "Mrs. Miller, thank you for the lesson you taught me. Also, I have to say that you being a witch is so cool." Grandma smiled and said, "I'm not a witch, honey. Witchcraft is banned in our family. I just happen to have a book of spells. Years ago, our family mutually decided to take out all the pages containing black magic spells and burn them, which means we couldn't become witches even if we wanted to." Then she asked for Bonnie's hand. Bonnie held out her hand and Grandma took it. She closed her eyes and said, "Volese release extremis. Volese release diatremes." Then she opened her eyes and explained, "Honey, I know we can trust you, but still, this is the biggest secret of our family. That's why I cast a secret-keeping spell on you. Even if you tell anyone about this spell, that person will instantly forget what you told them. They will never be able to retain the memory of it." Bonnie squealed, "This is the coolest thing ever. I love it." We all started to laugh. If it hadn't been for my grandmother, I could have lost my best friend. Thanks to her fantastic spell, Bonnie stopped copying me.
I'm Brad. Everybody stared at me as I walked into school, dwarfed by 2 Secret Service agents. A group of kids who were playfully chatting amongst themselves stopped to gawk at my bodyguards and me. "Are these bodyguards keeping you safe from us? Don't be afraid. We won't bite," one of them said mockingly as I walked by them. I was annoyed and embarrassed. "This is not my choice," I yelled back at him. The Secret Service agents wouldn't let me say anything else.
"You can't just stop and chat here, sir. It's too dangerous,"
they said, pulling me further away. I've been going to school with bodyguards for the past 7 weeks. Mom kept saying, "You'll get used to it," but I never did. If anything, I was getting more uncomfortable with each passing day. Some people might have thought it was cool, but it embarrassed me. The whole class went silent when I walked in. "Good morning," I said, smiling awkwardly. No one greeted me back, but avoided looking at me directly. I felt terrible that I was the reason the bodyguards were there. Seeing these 2 hulking men with their steely eyes glaring at them suspiciously undoubtedly bothered them. The chair next to my crush Lily was empty. "Hi," she said as I sat down. "Hi," I said, unable to look into her eyes. "Your guys look extra tough today. Did you do something to piss them off?" she asked jokingly. I talked back to someone who tried to make fun of me. It put them on edge, I said before immediately turning bright red the same way every time I talked to Lily. I had a crush on Lily. Every night, I rehearsed how I would ask her on a date. But the next day, as soon as I saw her, I would panic, and my mind would draw a blank. She could never find out about my feelings for her. I'd rather let her get away, even though I was sure she was my soulmate. After school, I told the agents I needed to see my dad. The armored vehicle set out for the White House. I sat in the waiting room. As I waited for my appointment with my father, I scrolled through Instagram. I checked Lily's account. She was bowling with her friends after school and tagged her post with the hashtag #FunWithFriends. Miserably, I thought, I wish I were there. My dad walked in.
"Is everything okay, son? I'm super busy. Tell me, what's so urgent that you had to see me now?"
he said. "Dad, I don't want the bodyguards at school. I have no friends. Everyone keeps their distance from me. I can't take it anymore," I said. Dad put his hand on my shoulder.
"Brad, you're the president's son. Terrorists, enemies of the state, and ransom seekers are all looking for a chance to kidnap you," he said.
"Dad, you just got elected. You're going to be in this position for at least 4 years. I can't do this for 4 years," I said.
"I hear you. Rest easy. This is on my to-do list. I have a meeting with the Secret Service today. They said they had a suggestion for us. I'll share it with you once I find out what it is," he replied.
When I came home, I told my mom what Dad said. She was hopeful for a solution. We couldn't wait for Dad to come home. He came home later that evening with someone. I was shocked because that person looked exactly like me. "What's going on, Dad?" I asked, staring at my look-alike in awe.
"Son, let me introduce you to Fake Brad. Between us, we'll call him Brad too. He's your body double. After a long and arduous search, the Secret Service found someone reliable who looks almost exactly like you. From now on, he will go to school instead of you," he said.
That was a brilliant idea. Unfortunately, everyone at school knew my father was the president. The press only printed a few photos of me, but I was recognized everywhere I went. That's why fake Brad would go to my current school. The real Brad, me, would go to a new school with a new identity and a new life.
Since Brad 2 will replace you, he needs to get to know you better. That's why he's going to live here with us for a while. Once he knows enough about you, he can start attending school in your place,
Dad added. Some rich people, celebrities, or presidents use body doubles. These actors are often needed to protect the people they pretend to be. For example, at a film premiere, the person you're waving to is usually not the celebrity you love and adore. It's their body double instead. This solution the Secret Service came up with sounded good to me. The only problem was Lily. I wasn't going to see my crush anymore, which bothered me. We were already following each other on Instagram. I could explain everything to her with a text. Then I could even tell her how I felt. That would solve both of my problems. In the following days, I began spending most of my time at home with Brad too. He was observing and asking me questions about myself. I didn't like him very much because he would sometimes overtly make fun of me. Once, when he heard me laugh aloud, he said, "You have an annoying laugh. How am I supposed to do that?" Another day, when he found out that I loved stargazing, he said, "Planets? People our age are usually into football. Why do you care so much about space?" He annoyed me when he said that, but I said nothing in reply. What did I care? He'd soon be out of my life anyway. After about a month, the Secret Service decided Brad 2 was ready to replace me. He walked, talked, and laughed like me. He was using my words. He even sounded just like me. He was my perfect body double. One morning, Brad 2 left home for school with 2 bodyguards on either side of him. I was so excited. Would anyone notice that he wasn't me? Later that day, the Secret Service agents visited me. They'd recorded him all day at school with a camera. I watched the footage. Students stared at him, rude as always. I was convinced when Lily asked Brad 2, "Did you study for the math exam?" If she didn't pick up on it, this plan was working. My body double could now go to school instead of me. The Secret Service moved on to the second step of their plan. I found myself a new name. They prepared my new ID and all the other fake documents necessary. That's how I was able to start my new school as a new person. My life went back to normal pretty fast. Everyone at my new school knew me as Scott. Scott's dad was a lawyer. Some days, he would pick me up after school. My mom would attend PTA meetings. She wasn't my real mom, but an actor. My fake parents both worked for the Secret Service. At my new school, I was content with my life. I only had one issue to resolve. I had to tell Lily that Brad 2 wasn't the real me. I didn't have her phone number. That night, I mustered the courage to write her and say, "Hi, Lily." Lily replied shortly after, "Babe, you told me not to DM you on IG. What happened? Did you change your mind?" Babe, why would Lily call me that? "Lily, can we talk now? Will you give me your number?" I wrote. "You have my number, love. What's going on?" she replied. I sent her another text asking for her number. I told her that Brad 2 was a body double that replaced me and that I was going to another school under my new name, Scott. Lily began crying and told me what had happened. "Fake Brad told me he liked me. I thought it was you and told him I liked him too, so we started dating. He tricked me. Oh God, this is awful. He said, 'I can't call you on my phone because of security risks. We can't communicate through social media either. I'll call you on a different number. Don't try to contact me.' Now I realize he was trying to prevent me from communicating with real Brad. I can't believe how he could do such a thing." That night, Lily and I had a long talk. The situation seemed complicated, but it was pretty simple. Lily liked me for real. She started dating Brad too because she thought he was me. So it was as if we, Lily and I, were already dating. Now all we had to do was remove Brad 2 from the equation. But we had a problem. No one could find out I was using a body double. If the Secret Service discovered I had revealed the secret to Lily, they could abort the whole operation. Thankfully, Lily comforted me. "My love, leave it to me to eliminate Brad 2. There were things I never liked about him. He talks about football all the time. Now I know that's all him, not you. I'm so glad I found out about this. I'm going to break up with him. He deserves it." The next day, Lily did as she said. She recorded her conversation with Brad too. She gave him the lesson he deserved. I loved how she told Brad too, "I thought you were into space. Where did your obsession with football come from? You're so ordinary. That's enough reason for me to leave you. Lily and I have an excellent relationship right now. Our daily video calls last for hours. We sneak around on the weekends and spend the whole day together. I brought my telescope with me to our date last week. We waited for the sun to go down and watched the planets together. I didn't know Lily knew so much about space. I fell for her all over again. What Brad 2 did to me was horrible, but the good part was, that's how Lily came to find out about my feelings for her. I have a fantastic girlfriend thanks to my body double. I'm still mad at him, but I should thank him.